The metal doors slid open with a muted ding, and Will stepped into the dimly lit elevator of the towering Twilight Towers. The structure itself loomed against the dusky sky, a solitary silhouette against a backdrop of clouds threatening rain. Each floor he passed held stories and secrets locked behind steel doors, and he was about to experience these firsthand. As the elevator shuddered before descending, Will adjusted his backpack, feeling the weight of the decision that had brought him here. He glanced at his reflection in the mirrored walls. A young man with defiant eyes gazed back, wearing a determination that had been born from too many wrongs. The first stop was the fifth floor. The doors snapped open to reveal a young woman with sharp eyes and quick movements, clad in a disheveled uniform. She looked at him with a mix of recognition and surprise before gesturing him inside with urgency. "Are you ready, Will?" she asked, checking the corridor for any intruders. Her name tag read Trina, and there was a familiarity about her. She had been part of the same tangled path he tread upon, lost in a city that often swallowed its inhabitants whole. Will nodded slightly, his resolve firm despite the apprehension gnawing at his edges. "I've got everything I need," he replied tersely, tapping his backpack for emphasis. Trina nodded approvingly. "Remember, time's not on our side. We have to reach them before they finish the deal. They're 2 floors down, room 840. As the lift descended, Trina explained the layout of the building: stairwells, emergency exits, and key players. The rogues they were intercepting didn't just smuggle goods. They traded lives and futures, shaping the underbelly of Twilight Towers. The 11th floor flashed past them. The numbers on the panel ticking down felt like both a promise and a threat. The 8th floor approached with an ominous certainty. As they reached the destination, the doors parted with a creak, revealing a dimly lit hallway stretching out in both directions. The muffled beats of music and laughter echoed through the corridor, mingled with the shadows and secrets cast by flickering lights above. Trina nodded towards the left, a silent directive. They moved quickly, footsteps light against the worn carpet. Will kept his senses keen, the anticipatory hum of adrenaline sharpening his focus. Room 840 loomed at the far end, indistinct voices drifting through the cracks around the doorframe. The tension increased, thrumming with every closer step. Will reached for the door handle, muscles coiled like a spring. Trina's presence was a steady anchor beside him. They exchanged a glance, a silent agreement that the next few moments would change everything. The door slowly swung open, revealing a tableau of players seated around a table, oblivious to their intrusion. The sudden intrusion caught the group off guard, a sharp intake of breath, the only sound piercing the tense silence. The room was dim but opulent, a stark contrast to the grim corridors of the building. Will's eyes swept the scene, taking in the guarded faces turned his way before fixing on a figure at the head of the table. This was Marcus, a man with an imposing presence, known for orchestrating the black market dealings that thrived in Twilight Towers' shadow. His expression shifted from surprise to a calculating calm. "Bold move, kid," he drawled, leaning back in his chair, unaffected by the tension around him. "But what's the play here?" Will didn't flinch, standing his ground with determination. "You're not going through with this deal, Marcus. It ends tonight. We have what you need on record, enough to shut you down." Trina stepped forward, producing her phone, prepared to document any attempt at resistance. Her confidence matched Will's, lending strength to their combined front. Marcus let out a low chuckle, a sound devoid of mirth. "You think you've got the drop on me with just the two of you? And what's your endgame? Walk out of here alive?" His gaze swept over the room's hidden muscle, burly figures lurking just out of sight. Will didn't waver, drawing on the steel within him. "The game changes now. We're not just here for our own skin. We're here for everyone who couldn't stand up to you." He pulled a small device from his pocket, its blinking light indicating a live stream. "We're not alone. This is going out to people who care, people who will act." The realization dawned on Marcus and his crew with the flicker of doubt and worry. The power was shifting in those seconds, as the invisible audience grew through the stream. The shadows that had once offered Marcus protection now threatened exposure. Trina nodded, stepping up to the table. "It's over, Marcus. No more lives, no more future stolen. Not in Twilight Towers, not tonight." The room fell into an uneasy quiet, the weight of their words settling, a challenge and a promise intertwined. Marcus, realizing the tide had turned, leaned forward, his confident veneer cracked. "All right," he said, voice low and conceding. "A truce, then. We walk away, and so do you." The shift was subtle but definitive. The tension in the air ebbed as Trina and Will stood their ground, united in purpose. Sometimes it wasn't just about the confrontation itself, but the aftermath, a beacon for those who would follow and fight. As they backed towards the exit, Will felt a swell of resolve. This wasn't the end, but it was a beginning. And as they re-entered the corridor, the slick, polished doors closed behind them. Will glanced at Trina, their silent pact echoing louder than any words they had shared. Today, they'd made a stand in Twilight Towers, and for the first time, the tower seemed to stand a little taller, its foundation a touch stronger. They'd battle this darkness floor by floor, step by step, until light seeped into even the deepest corners. And that was just the start of their story.